10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Growing bolder, what's next?
Hi, everybody. Today is Friday, September 11th, 2020. I'm Bill Schaefer, and this is Growing Bolders What's Next? And you are here for an excellent program. It's going to be a lot of fun, very interesting, because coming up, you're going to meet a guy who had a dream, and he listened to everybody constantly tell him what a bad idea his dream was. Well, if this has ever happened to you, not only will he embolden you to perhaps give something a try in your life, but he will absolutely add a little bit of magic to your morning. You're going to want to hold on to your laptops for this one. It's going to be a lot of fun. Steve Marshall is a great guy. First, I do want to take a moment to mention that today is 9/11. That attack happened 19 years ago. Can you believe it? In so many ways, it seems like it was in the blink of an eye. So many people lost their lives, and others have had their lives changed in many ways too. Look, none of us know what the next day is ever going to bring for any of us. We do know that we will all face unexpected challenges and obstacles. And we do know that it's important to live our lives to the fullest, but we don't do it. Events like this remind us how important it truly is. Don't wait for one day to do the things that you really want to do. Don't wait for to become who you really want to be. Don't wait to say the things you really want to say to the people who are important in your life. Be who you really want to be starting now. Get out there and start making a difference in the lives of others, because, as you know, that's what we call growing bolder. Do you know much about Growing Bolder? We're here to help change the way people look at growing older, aging. It's not a time of loss and decline, as we've been led to believe by everybody, including ourselves. Aging is an opportunity too. It's a chance for you to live your life to the fullest. GrowingBolder.com is a great place to check out because, man, we've got stories there, interviews, there are real life examples of ordinary people living extraordinary lives. And you can also learn about Growing Bolder TV, which is seen on public television stations across the country, Growing Bolder Radio and podcasts, Growing Bolder Magazine. Take some time to check it all out at growingbolder.com. It helps change the way you think. You know, when you are hanging around people who are positive, people who are doing things, people who think in an adventurous way, it's contagious. You know, speaking of contagious in the world we live in, get a little positivity in your life. It's good for all of us. All right, can't wait to get to Steve. Speaking of that, love his story because I think we can all relate. It's like I asked earlier, have you ever had something that you wanted to do, only find out that all of your friends and everybody in your life tell you what a bad idea it really is? It's too difficult, low wages, few opportunities, little interest, poor lifestyle. Well, Steve Marshall wanted to be a magician. So he asked his friends what they thought, and every one of them said, nope, bad idea. But it was in his heart. It was something he wanted to do. And you know what? He found out that his friends were pretty much right. It was hard. It was a constant struggle, and it still is. But when something is truly your passion, you cannot be stopped, not even by a pandemic. It's a story so big, so important to get, that What's Next had to go global, from Orlando, Florida, all the way to, where is that? Shinjuku, Japan. Steve Marshall joins us now to talk about reinventing his dream, his life, and magic itself. Steve, Japan. Holy cow. I don't know how this connection's going to work. How are you doing?
素晴らしい、Bill さん。こんにちは。今から11時ですとか。
Wait, Steve, you're speaking Japanese. We can't understand a word you're saying.
ちょっと待ってください。ちょっと待ってください。
Just a minute.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I forgot the translation switch was on the wrong side. I switched over to English. We should be okay now. It might go off, but we'll try to keep it there.
Well,
how you doing?
This is fantastic. I mean, to talk to you all the way in Japan and to allow us to call you Collect is a very
thanks. I accept the charges.
That's a joke for anyone who remembers what a collect call really is. What is Shinjuku? Where is that?
Well, actually, it's funny. You got Shinjuku off my Facebook page. Shinjuku is in Tokyo. What a lot of people don't know is Tokyo is not a city. It's a prefecture, like a state. And Shinjuku is one of the wards or cities in Tokyo. So I actually live just outside of Tokyo, Japan, but Tokyo's the closest. That's where I do all my work, and I'm in Tokyo all the time.
And it's a prefecture, folks.
It's a prefecture, yes.
You can go to Walgreens
Tokyo.
and get an ointment for that.
An ointment for my prefecture, yes.
Prefecture. So this is a great topic because I think what you've done is really interesting, especially choosing to be a magician. I'm sure that I know you started when you were young, but when you decided you were going to make it your lifestyle, you probably did have everybody tell you, get a real job, or you'll never, it's not the right path. How did you deal with that? And what gave you the ability to kind of ignore the noise and push ahead?
Well, you know the saying they always say, have something to fall back on.
Yeah.
I never had anything to fall back on. I literally put all my decks of cards or all my eggs or whatever you want to say, all my magic wands were in one top hat, right? It was like, I never wanted to do anything else. When I was 8 years old, now I got to tell you, when I was a kid, I was the kid in school that got picked on. I was the overweight kid. I was the kid that got called fatso. I was the kid that got picked last for every sports team and PE. I got bullied a lot. So I was always looking for something that would make me different. And when I was 8 years old, I asked for a magic kit for Christmas. And it's kind of cool. This is the box that I opened. This is so special to me when I was 8 years old, this TV magic kit. And this man's name was Marshall Brodeen. And it was a connection to me because my last name is Marshall. His first name was Marshall. And so I asked for this, and Santa Claus brought me this magic kit for Christmas when I was 8. And it literally it changed my life because I could do something now that nobody else could do. It was really broke me out of my shell during magic.
But Steve, it's like a hobby though. And when you choose to make a career out of something that most people see as a hobby, you didn't pick an easy path at all.
No, my dad's an accountant, and he always wanted me to go into business with him. And he always said, son, magic's a good hobby. It's something you can do, but it's not something you do as a career path, And along the way, I discovered clowning. There was a guy named Corky the Clown in Lakeland, Florida, who taught me clowning when I was a kid, when I went to this Red Cross youth clown troupe. So when I was by the time I was in junior high school, I was actually doing kids' birthday parties. And I come from Zephyr Hills, Florida, which in the wintertime, we have over 100 trailer parks there. So it's packed, and everybody was looking for entertainment. Well, I was it. It was me, and there was a girl named Joyce who was a ventriloquist in town. And so we were the entertainment for all the senior citizen centers, the trailer park events, everything. And they used to call me up. They would call the high school because they knew I was in high school. The student secretaries would take messages, bring them to me in class. I would leave class, go to the pay phones at the time, book the show, and then go back to class. So I was already making money and paying for all my magic props and things like that by the time I was in junior high school.
So it's funny. I remember that TV magic kit. I remember seeing that, wishing I had it, wishing we all wanted to do that back then, but the kids that could ended up really being the popular ones. But let's because of this program, let's switch to the other end of age. You barely look old enough even to be talking about an experience. Where are you in your career age-wise, and how's it going now?
Well, I just turned 55 last July, and it's been this constant cycle of reinvention, right? When I graduated high school, I went to Ringling Brothers Barnum and Bailey Clown College. And then I went on the road with Ringling for 5 years. And my 5th year it took me to Japan. They brought a unit to Japan. I really loved it here. I never in a million years thought I would be living here, right? Bought my souvenirs, went home. Then I moved to New York City. I lived in New York thinking the old, if you can make it there, you can make it anywhere kind of thing. Wound up doing very well there with corporate events. I was a street performer. I was a fire eater. For years, every weekend, I would go out on the streets of New York and escape from a straitjacket and eat fire. That was the way I paid my rent, passing the hat and things. And then I would do corporate
We've got a
events.
picture. We've got a photo of you eating fire.
Yeah. That was actually in the circus. That was when I was blowing fire in the circus.
Man.
So
I can't imagine your parents not being proud of their son for saying, well, he could have been a dentist, but no, he's.
My dad drove me to my first fire eating lesson. And it was a guy named Mark Young who taught me how to eat fire. And he used to work at Circus World. Remember Circus World outside of Orlando? Yep. Haines City.
That's incredible. So it's like you sentenced yourself basically to a lifestyle where you never have a steady job, you never have a pension, you have no sick days, you have no office, you've been all over the country, usually working out of your car to get from place to place. What has that lifestyle been like? I mean, it's cool when you're on the stage, but in between shows, it's not a lifestyle for everybody.
It's not, and a lot of people can't do it, and they drop out or whatever. It's funny. I was in my late 20s before I ever heard about sick days at work. Somebody was telling me about it at work, and they said something about a sick day, and I went, "A what? A sick day? What do you mean? You mean you can take off?" Because for me, I've done thousands of shows, and I never missed one. When I was with Ringling for 5 years, we did 2 shows a day, 3 shows on Saturday. We were doing 13 shows a week for 5 years. I never missed a show.
Wow.
And I mean, there were some times where I was really sick and I went in and did the show. I would go out, perform, and then come backstage and collapse until I could go back out and do it again. Because when you're on the stage, something takes over. And it's an amazing feeling. And unless you do it regularly, I don't think you can really understand. But it's an amazing feeling. I love that. And the in-between times, it goes up and down. You gotta learn how to manage your money, because like September, October, November, December in a regular year, obviously not this year, are your busy years. And then everything kind of goes away in January, February until spring kicks in. So you got to kind of learn how to, save your money, save your nuts and berries, as they say, through the winter time, so you can survive, for the real winter months. And it's just been like that. And, I'm extremely grateful that I've been able to do this. I'm putting 2 kids through college right now. We bought this house in Japan. It's really been a great career, and I have no regrets, and
Steve,
I love it.
I'm glad you brought that up, because that's an area that we tend to, as interviewers, we usually gloss over. Okay, so you followed your passion, and it was a tough life, but you're doing what you love. We sometimes don't think about or talk about the financial end of that. Now, you knew it was probably a career where you would have to, like you said, save your nuts as you go along and be careful with the money that you get. But now you're at an age, a life stage, where you're sending 2 kids to college, and 55, you're probably thinking, well, how long can I do this? How long do I want to do this? Do you worry about yourself financially?
I never have. It's always been there. There have been times where it gets really lean. When something like this happens, or when the earthquake happened back in 2011 here in Japan and the tsunami, entertainment is the first thing to go and the last thing to come back usually, right? Because it's not a necessity for people. But when the earthquake happened, everything went away. I immediately kicked it in and set up a lecture tour and a show tour in America, and went for a month and a half and toured around with my buddy Billy Skadlock, and drove all around, did shows. And a friend of mine who has a company up in Indianapolis, a good-sized company, he said, it's really amazing to me that your business is so fragile that one little thing can happen and everything goes away. But he goes, 2 weeks later, you've got everything back going again, and you're out making money with something just totally different that you've just come up with in your mind. And that's the thing. You have to be able to reinvent yourself. You have to be able to be creative. You can't have an ego in a sense too, because it's like, if I got to go out, if I was on stage last night in front of 10,000 people doing this big show, or on TV, and I was in China on TV for an estimated 100 million people, next week I could be at some kid's birthday party, whatever, if it comes up. Yeah. And I do it. You know what I mean? You just do what you have to do to make your money.
Well, let's follow that, because there are so many people in the same position that you are right now that never expected to be because of the global pandemic. People whose jobs have changed, people who are working from home still, people who lost their jobs or are trying to reinvent themselves as well. So here comes this global pandemic. As bad as it has been for everybody, artists and entertainers, musicians have really taken the brunt of this and have been really haven't had no way to make any income at all. And I'm guessing that, you cannot afford not to work. So what have you done in this era to try to reinvent yourself and reinvent magic?
Well, first of all, in the very beginning, and still, I sit right in this chair every day and I teach English to Japanese kids on the internet. So I have like 9 classes a day, and my entertainment skills all come into play, and just keep them involved. So I'm still doing it, but that was an immediate thing that I could do to bring income in. And what I've been doing is I've come up with these online Zoom magic shows. I call it Steve Marshall's House of Magic. And for years, I always had this dream of setting a stage up to look like my magic room, like here, where I come up with all my magic tricks, where I rehearse, where I read my books. My bookshelf is over here. And so now I can invite people right into my home over Zoom. So I've been doing these online shows, and it's a really unique experience because everybody has a front row seat. Everybody sees me doing the magic right here, right up close for them. I'm doing mind reading.
How do you do magic on Zoom?
Well, okay, think of it. It's like, I don't want to say it's a TV show because it's not a TV show, but it's like you're watching a TV show, but it's like a TV show on steroids because you're actually interacting. Like I tell people to gather some items in their homes, and I make magic happen in their homes. I'm in Japan, they're in the States, and I'm causing things to happen in their homes. Doing mind reading tricks where I'm asking people to think of a word and I tell them what they're thinking of, different things like that. So it's something brand new. It's this totally interactive medium.
Oh, you have got to give us an example of what that is, because.
Well, let me just ask you. Let's try something. It's just you and me. But if everybody's watching, if they can send a message in, I'm just really curious about this. Just to start out, I'm not sure if this is going to work or not.
Okay.
But no. But I've got something else. But right off the bat, I want to try one thing.
Okay.
So, Bill, I'm going to ask you some questions.
Oh, boy.
And they're very simple. They're simple, mathematical, very simple. But I just want you to answer them out loud.
Okay.
And then I'm going to ask you another question at the end that's not mathematically related. And I just want you to think of the first thing that comes to your mind. Just blurt it out. Okay. All right. What's 1 + 1?
2.
What's 2 + 2?
4.
What's 4 + 4?
8.
What's 8 + 8?
16.
Name a vegetable.
Corn.
Corn. Okay. Was that you changed your mind there for a second? There was a pause. Did you change? Were you going to say one thing and you changed to corn? Is that right?
Right. What did you think I was going to say?
What were you going to say?
I cannot remember.
You can't remember, but it was a C. Here's what I thought you were going to say, and I'm just curious if everybody did that with us. If everybody thought of a vegetable, I'm curious. What I had. It's interesting because I thought you were going to say it. You went in the bag. I had a carrot. I actually thought you were going to say carrot. You did go with corn with a C word.
I blew your trick.
No, you didn't. I'm just curious if anybody else thought of it. It just goes into something that I like to do. I've taught my kids to always have fun with whatever you do. And right now we're all having to sit at home. We're all having to stay at home. We can't go out and eat, most of us. So I wanted to make mealtime fun for my kids. So what I did was I took a deck of playing cards, and I wrote the names of canned food. So there's salmon, there's cat's meat. That's bad choice of words. Meat for the cat. It's potatoes, condensed milk. We've got custard and peas, baked beans, hot dogs, vegetable soup, spaghetti. Peaches. I've got all different things here. Chicken soup, tomatoes, refried beans. Oh, there's carrots. What I thought you were going to say. Tuna. Pumpkin soup. So I've got all these different fruit salad, pears. You get the idea. A whole bunch of different So, Bill, what I'm going to ask you to do, since this is a deck of cards, is I want you to think of any card in the deck. Don't say it just yet. Just think of it. Because after this kind of got old, this little deal-a-meal thing, I decided to ramp it up, make it more fun. So I went in and I ripped all the labels off the cans in my house, which wasn't really great for my wife, but I thought it was a lot of fun because then we could just reach in and grab a can. So we didn't have to do deal-a-meal. It was a surprise every night. So I've got this can with no label on it. I've got a deck of cards with a bunch of food written on them. Bill, name a card, any card.
You name the vegetable or name a card?
No, name a card, any card. What card would you like?
The 7 of diamonds.
The 7 of diamonds. The 7 of diamonds. Okay. Look, I'm going to look through here. We're going to find the 7 of diamonds. Let's see. Okay. See, it should be in here somewhere. Oh, the 7 of diamonds. There it is right there. 7 of diamonds. Okay. So that's the card that you wanted. And what's on the back of it? Can you read that?
Pineapple.
Pineapple. You like pineapples?
I do.
Okay. So you just thought, why did you think of the 7 of diamonds? Was there any reason?
I don't know.
This is what's interesting, Bill. I have one can that's been sitting here the whole time with the label ripped off. You chose the 7 of diamonds, has pineapple written on the back. Let's see how well you did.
I didn't do so good with carrots, Steve. Now you're going to open up a can of
see.
green beans.
I know the suspense is killing you here, Bill. We're going to open up this can. And interestingly enough, you thought of the 7 of diamonds. And this is a can.
Wow.
Of pineapples. Nicely done. You redeemed yourself, Bill. I'm going to have a little pineapple. Thank you.
And so this is the kind of thing that you can do on a Zoom where you can actually talk to the people
exactly
who come to your show. So is it like for corporate groups, or can anybody come to your show that way? How does that work? And
so it can be. I had one family in Hong Kong hire me privately to do a show just for their family. Later on, we'll give my website, and on my website, I have a page about my virtual shows, and I sell tickets on Eventbrite. So I have shows every Friday and Saturday. Next week, I have one on Thursday. So you go to Eventbrite, you buy a ticket. I'll tell you, the tickets are $25, but that's a household ticket. So you buy one $25 ticket, and that's per device that signs in. So if you're at home with your family, you're all watching on the same device. Some people plug it into their TV, and they see it right there. So it's $25 per household ticket on Eventbrite.
That's really cool. I mean, it's changing. It's instead of limiting you to venues, the venues are limitless, and
anywhere in the world.
And everybody, it's interactive. We can talk to you just like I would messed up your tricks there and guess wrong.
Well, it's fine. It's fun, especially if you're with a family or a group of people too, because you get to see everybody's reactions. And also, no matter where your family is in the world, even if you're all spread out, you can all log in and join in on the same show. And you're experiencing the show all together at the same time.
See, this is awesome. And again, one of the main reasons I wanted to reach out to you to have you on today is because there's a lot we can learn from you about the price you have to pay to follow your passion, but the reward as well. You know, you've had successes, real big ones, and you've had challenges as well. So talk to us about that. What can you teach us about how to not be afraid of the tough times and how to deal with the good times?
Well, I think it's important to follow your passion, whatever that is. My job is magic, but it's also my hobby. It's also the thing I love, my passion. So, I never feel like I'm working, and I work relentlessly. If I've got a show coming up, there may be days where I don't sleep. I just go and go and go, or if I'm coming up with a new routine. But it never feels like I'm working because I enjoy it so much. The time just flies by. Somebody said, if you enjoy what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. And I really feel that way. But then after a show's done, I collapse and I realize how hard I have been working and how many hours I have put in. And I always thought that if you ever wanted to do something, you should do it. It's like I always thought if somebody wanted to be a rock musician, I'm not saying go out and quit your job and become a rock musician, because that's probably not a good idea. But start a garage band in your home. If you can have some friends and play for local organizations. And even better, if you can start a family band. If you like to play guitar and you can teach your kids how to play guitar and your wife can sing, it's so much fun to do stuff like that. So I think that if you have a passion, I met a man here in Japan years ago, Suzuki-san was his name. And he was an electrical engineer. He woke up, he got up, went to work at 7 a.m. and came home, 9, 10 o'clock at night. He was just out all the time working. But he always had a dream. He wanted to be a painter and a poet. And when I met him, that's what he was doing. He was doing a lot of painting and poetry, but he was still an electrical engineer. And I asked him how he did it. He said, well, I wake up at 4 every morning and spend a couple of hours. I made a little studio in my home, so I spend a couple hours painting and writing poetry. And I said, oh my gosh. I said, aren't you exhausted? Because now you're losing 2 or 3 hours of sleep. And he said, no, I actually feel better and more alive than I ever have in my entire life, because I've set some time aside to do what I'm really passionate about and what I love. And I think that's the key, even if it's shutting the TV off for an hour. And if you're like writing or painting, a lot of people I hear their excuse is I don't have the time. And the first thing I say is, how much time do you spend watching TV? And 2 or 3 hours a night. Okay, well, you have time, right? You can turn the TV off for an hour, maybe miss the show or record it and watch it later. I don't know. I just think there's always 15 or 20 or 30 minutes time, or even longer, that you can carve out. And I think if you're doing what you're passionate about and what you love, it will really make the rest of your life better in the process.
That's great for getting you to give it a try, right? But here you are, you're in your mid 50s, and I'm guessing, Steve, there were probably times in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s when you're in your car by yourself driving from Zephyr Hills to some small town in Georgia to do a convention or something, that you're thinking, what am I doing? Why don't I do something else and do this as a hobby? So what has sustained you? What has kept you pushing through for not just a couple of times or to give yourself a lesson, but to really, really live? You're living your passion. It's your lifestyle.
Yeah. I had another performer friend one time that said something. I couldn't believe somebody else thought this, and maybe other performers did too. He said to me, he goes, do you ever fantasize about having a real job? And I went, and again, in the sense that I go, yeah, you have a job from 9 to 5, and then you clock out and you go home and you don't think about it. Hopefully, you just go home and do whatever you want to do for the rest of the night. It's always in here. I'm always thinking about some new routine. I'm always thinking about something. I don't know what a day off is. As a matter of fact, when I started doing this English teaching at the beginning of this, when that's all I was doing, it was from Monday through Friday. And it was the first time in 30 years that I remembered what a weekend was. Friday night is, you finish and then you don't have anything to do for 2 days. You can do what you want to do. It was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing, right? And now with these shows and stuff like that, I'm back to all the time, which is fine with me. I love it. But yeah, I mean, I don't know though if I can say there's ever been a time where I was going to give it up, because like I said, this is all I know, and this is all I do. And, when my big show isn't able to be sold because of something like this, I do close-up magic. I do card tricks. I kind of jump around. I was a clown for 5 years, so I can always put my clown makeup on and go out and do shows as a clown if I need to. Or I've got a lot of different things that I can do.
I think, so. Stephen, and I may ask you, I don't know if you have anything else you could show us, but be thinking of that. But while I throw this thought out there, I do think that usually, like if you guys out there watching this, right, if you're thinking along the lines that Steve's talking about, you're probably thinking of something that's creative, something that's artistic, something that's musical, something that you do with your hands. It could be gardening, could be anything like that. I think when that's the difference between a job and a passion. A job where you go to work and you're doing something for somebody else, but when you're doing something like Steve, that comes from your heart, you don't really want time off. You don't want that. You get time off so you can spend time thinking about that. And that's why it's so freeing and so exciting, and that so many people are interested in. Steve, how hard is it to pick up something? Do they have anything today like TV Magic where you can maybe start to learn and just put on, see how good you can get at it?
Yeah. Let me say one thing. It's funny when you were talking about just something that you're passionate about. My dad was an accountant. He had his own business and things like that. And when I graduated high school, he wanted me to come work with him. And I worked with him for a week. And it was like, I was bored to death. It's not what I wanted to do. It was like, I shouldn't. But my dad, I remember when I was a kid, my dad would sit at the breakfast table and he'd be like adding numbers. And I'd say, what are you doing? He goes, I'm figuring, and he was just, I to this day, I don't know what he was doing. I don't know what he was adding or what he was, the bank account or whatever it was or something for work. But he loved numbers. He loved adding them and he loved figuring things out like that. So I saw him doing that, and something that was like, I mean, I could never do it in a million years. He loved it. He was passionate about it, and he loved going to work, and he loved, tax time. He loved tax time, doing people's taxes for them, and everything. So I grew up with that.
So is there anything else you could show us?
Yeah.
Putting you on the spot all the time.
That's okay. I'm going to, you know what? I've got I don't know if you can see here, I've got my old Victrola here. So I'm going to crank it up in the best way I can with a little music. And I want to show you something that I carry with me wherever I go. Whenever I travel, I carry this around with me. And it's a giant die. And it's to remind me that life is sometimes like a game of chance, a roll of the dice, a crapshoot. And there's times in our lives when we just want to get outside of the boxes that we create for ourselves and expand our horizons. While at other times, no matter how cramped it might feel inside, it seems safer just to stay inside our boxes.
No way.
But what I'm here to tell you is that what I've learned in my life is that sometimes you just got to make your own box and hope for the best.
Oh man, that's great, and it works great even through the internet. Steve, let's start to wrap this up. You've had such an unusual life. We always
shut the Victrola off. Hold on a minute.
Oh yes, Enrico Caruso sounds fantastic on it. We always, whenever we have guests like you on, we always like to if you could give us a takeaway, like what. You've had such an interesting seat at life. You've done things that we could never do, and we're doing things that you wouldn't want to do. So what can we learn about life from what you've been through?
Magic is about astonishment. And there was a magician one time named Paul Harris who wrote an essay called about the moment of astonishment, of why when you see a magic trick, why it makes you go, oh, I want to see another one. And he said that as we grow up, we have experiences in our life. When we're born, everything is amazing to us. Everything is astonishing. The way warm wind feels on your skin, the sound of a tree rustling, rain, everything is astonishing when you see it the first time. Then it becomes an experience that you put in a box and you stack it up. But when the magician comes along and does a trick, he does something you can't put in one of your nice, neat little boxes. And so they all fall away for a second. And that's that moment of astonishment before you start building it back up, trying to figure out how he did it. So years ago, I started doing photography, and I started looking around at normal things in my neighborhood and in my life. And I started realizing you can be astonished anytime. And when I walk down the street at different times of day, I see the way the sunlight is hitting a building, or shadows on the ground, or the way the leaves are moving or falling. Just anything that's normal that you see every day, try to look at it in a new and interesting, astonishing way. And I think that will just give you something every day, a little astonishment. And I think it goes a long ways.
I get it's like adding a little bit of magic to our lives. And I understand you're
is.
willing to allow our viewers today to add a little magic to their lives.
Yes, I am. Yes. So I've got 2 shows. I've got a show tonight coming up, 7 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time in the States. And I have one tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. So Friday and Saturday night, Eastern Daylight Time. The tickets are $25, but if you buy a ticket, I will give you 2 tickets for one. So if you buy a ticket at Eventbrite with the link on my homepage, then email me somebody else's email address, and I will send you a ticket for them. But for tonight's show, if you can do it in the next 4 hours, I'd appreciate it, because I'm going to go to bed because it's midnight here. I've got to get up and do the show.
Oh my gosh, it's midnight there. We're keeping you up. Folks, so listen, if you're interested in contacting Steve, following him, or taking advantage of his 2 for the price of 1 offer to see one of his virtual magic shows, and we didn't even scratch the surface. This guy is talented, funny, interesting, amazing. And here's all you have to do to reach out to him is go to stevemania.com. There's so much more to him too. You'll be fascinated by his photography, which there are links to, and just his story. I mean, I think all of us have things that we have thought about doing that we might have wanted to do. And who knows if Steve made the right decision or the wrong one, but he's living the life that he always wanted. No regrets, no questions. So Steve, I'll give you the last word, the Growing Bolder message, as we say sayonara to you in Tokyo.
Yeah, thanks. So just to be clear though, for the 2 for 1 thing, it's just for this weekend show. There are other schedules already up on Eventbrite for other shows later on in the month, but the 2 for 1 special is just for tonight and tomorrow night's Friday and Saturday night show this week. Yeah, thanks, Bill, for having me on your show. I think we talked. I grew up watching you on TV. You were the guy. You were the guy I looked forward to seeing on the news because you did all the fun, positive pieces. So this has been a real honor for me to be on the show with you. And yeah, I challenge everybody today to go out and be astonished by something you see every day, something that just look at it in a different way and put a little magic in your life.
It's beautiful.
And come see me.
Great message. Steve Marshall, we'll catch you next time you're in the States. And really appreciate the inspiration and a great message. And hey, let's turn now to our meme of the week, because it fits right in, and it comes from the one and only Dr. Seuss, who was also just an amazingly creative person. He lived at 87 years old. He was active up until the end. He wrote, I guess most of the most popular children's books ever were written by Dr. Seuss, endearing to all of us because along with the amazing illustrations, did you know he did his own illustrations? You probably did. And the interesting alliterations that made his book so much fun to read were he had these little chunks of wisdom, these interesting little tidbits of understanding and of humanity. And here's one of his quotes that we really liked. Life is too short to wake up with regrets. So love the people who treat you right, forgive the ones who don't, and believe that everything happens for a reason. If you get a chance, take it. If it changes your life, let it. It's a great quote. And the key to life is opportunity. Opportunity is the most misunderstood concept too, because it's all around us, but unless we reach out and grab it, it's invisible, it's pointless, it's worthless. And you really can't see opportunity unless you're actually looking for it. You have to get in the habit of looking for it, of seeing it, embracing it, and taking it. And when you think about it, opportunity, it's like the seed. You plant it, and what grows from opportunity is adventure, appreciation, and fulfillment. We all choose not to see most of the opportunities that come our way. We don't see them because we're too busy, or they're too risky, or because we're a little afraid. But again, opportunity is that seed that leads us in new directions, that offers different experiences that help make us better, wiser, and happier. So do this. Tell yourself you're going to put on your special opportunity-seeking glasses this weekend. See them, think about them, and like Dr. Seuss said, and like Steve Marshall did, take a chance. Grab an opportunity. You'll be glad you did. I'm Bill Schaefer. We'll see you next time on Growing Boulders, What's Next?
Growing bolder, what's next?